someone stopped me and said like, Naomi, you sent that email to the whole year group. Recently we had an event at the Tottenham Stadium, so it was really cool. Companies want to hear like, not only why do you want to be an apprentice, but why do you want to be an apprentice with us? So really try and answer that question. And I thought, oh my goodness, I actually screamed. Manchester itself, I think as a city, I thought was very cool. Oh, don't be scared. And it was such a feeling of shock. I thought, I don't really deserve to be wearing this. Oh, that's a great question. What is the most surprising thing? Hi, I'm Naomi and I'm taking you behind the future.
Welcome to another episode of Behind the Future. I'm Becky Sims, your host, and today I have a fantastic co-host, Ray. Ray, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ray. I'm a Year 12 student and I'm interested in film.
Fantastic. And we have an amazing guest with us today. I'm super excited about this. Naomi, tell our audience who you are.
Hi, I'm Naomi. I'm a degree apprentice at Amazon and an apprentice chair at the London Apprenticeship Ambassador Network.
Amazing. Fantastic. Well, over to Ray for our first question.
Yeah, you said you were an ambassador. What exactly is that?
Yeah, so basically being an ambassador is part of the Apprenticeship Ambassador Network, which is a huge group of apprentices and employers who both volunteer their time to speak about apprenticeships, promote them, whether that's to students, small businesses, and just really champion them and get the word out. So I chose to be an ambassador because I was pretty keen on apprenticeships, as you can probably tell, and I wanted to make sure that students have the information to make the right decisions, how to find them. Back when I was at school, I didn't have too much information at it, so I wanted to make sure that students do have that.
And I feel like you shared a story with us that when you were at school, you accidentally sent an email that went further than you meant it to and kind of resulted in you thinking, oh, people don't really like apprenticeships. Tell us a bit about that story.
Yeah, so this really makes me laugh. So back when I was in year 12, or no, it might have been year 13, we got an email about careers and it was basically asking like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to go into sort of around that area? And being so excited, having already made up my decision, I emailed back and I said, hey miss, like I want to do an apprenticeship in media, business, management. And I kind of listed all my ideas and just sent it off thinking, okay, like she'll come back with some information. And that wasn't until I was walking to one of my lessons, I think it was philosophy, that someone stopped me and said like, Naomi, you sent that email to the whole year group.
Oops.
And I was like, wait, what? Because I didn't really use emails much in sixth form. I'm sure most sixth form students don't. And I went back on my phone to see that I'd used Reply All. And that was my first time doing that. And after that, I had a series of conversations with people who had also seen the email. And of course, it was a mistake. I didn't mean to send it to the whole year group, but I also didn't think that it was a problem. Like, I didn't think it was a thing like, well, you're choosing to do an apprenticeship. But I think seeing some reactions and tones let me know that this is seen as something to sort of be embarrassed about. Like, it was seen as something to not be proud about doing an apprenticeship or wanting to pursue one. So yeah, it was quite an experience, but I wouldn't be here if I didn't have that experience, because it definitely showed me that like, okay, if that's the sort of feeling we have about it in our year group, I only wanted to do it more because I knew it was worth it. So
I love that. And also that must have really helped fuel your fire for being part of the Ambassador Network and helping show people that it's not anything to be worried about or ashamed about. It's a brilliant route into industry. It's much more practical than a degree is. A lot of people that do a degree then almost need to go and do their kind of apprenticeship when they actually start work to actually start learning the more on-the-job skills. So it's we're big fans of apprenticeships, as we are degrees. I say there's no one route. You've got to find what's right for you. But that's amazing. So what happened after that email then? So you've kind of started to get a bit of negativity. What were your parents' views on it as well?
Yeah, so after that email, it was now like out in the air. So after that, I wasn't really too fussed about being vocal about wanting to do an apprenticeship. Like, the email had gone anyway. And in terms of my parents, they were on board with apprenticeships. They'd actually had a few like friends and colleagues who had spoken about apprenticeships to them. So it seemed like a viable option. It seemed like a good route. We were pretty set on degree apprenticeships. And I think looking back, I wish we'd been more open to all apprenticeships, but they were supportive of pursuing an apprenticeship. Yeah.
Fantastic. So what did you do next?
So next, at that point, it was year 13 and I'd already started applying. So I sort of had that balance of I need to revise for my A-level so I can get good grades, but I also really want an apprenticeship. And from doing the research that I'd already done previously in year 12, I knew that apprenticeships are competitive. And not only that, there are so many out there. So I remember like just scouring the internet and applying to the ones that interested me, but also revising and sort of, I take some of my free periods in school to go sit and just do applications because I knew like I really, really wanted one and it just seemed to make the most sense. And I spoke with my careers advisor at school. I had an amazing careers advisor. And she was she actually did go to Maidstone Grammar as well after. She was so supportive, and it meant that I had someone in school I could sort of go and speak to and just like word vomit all my thoughts about apprenticeships and what I wanted to apply for, and kind of as a reminder to know that, yeah, this is a good route, and someone that's got expert advice to offer could sort of give me advice and information on it. So I'd go to her, I'd speak to her, I'd apply online, I'd do my research. And one thing I always did was sort of research, like, what are the cons of it? What are the things to sort of like steer me away, or, you know, the biggest downsides? But the only thing I could ever really see was that, you know, you won't have a social life, you won't get to make friends, you'll be working all the time. And it just didn't seem realistic. Like, adults work and have social lives, so why wouldn't you as an apprentice? That's what I thought.
And is that bit true? Do you have a social life?
I can confirm I do.
Good.
I do. Yeah.
Good. Oh, amazing. So have you started looking at applying for anything as yet, or is that to come?
I've started looking. I've actually got a question. What's the best way of getting into an apprenticeship?
That's a good question. I would say, so getting into one or finding one, just to answer the best.
Either.
Both.
We'll start with one of them.
Finding them, yeah. I'd say finding them, there's no like one-stop shop that's got every apprenticeship. So it's knowing that you could check through a mixture of the company's actual website, the same way you might go and apply for a normal job, a standard job at a company. That's where they also might advertise their apprenticeship. So check in there. We've got websites like Amazing Apprenticeships, Hire In, that sort of collate loads of apprenticeships into one place and tell you employers that offer them. So those are really good platforms too. There's gov.uk, there's UCAS website. They're in so many different places. So I'd say to really maximize your options of finding one, try and check as many sites as possible and apply to as many that interest you, that you think you could see yourself doing. That's what I'd say in terms of finding it. And then when it comes to actually applying, definitely tailoring your application and sort of your interview process to the company itself. So I know one thing I learned through a few rejections, of course, was that companies want to hear, like, not only why do you want to be an apprentice, but why do you want to be an apprentice with us? So really try and answer that question.
Yeah.
And what kind of research would you do? Try and find out what the company was like, what the culture was like, using a bit of AI for any of that research, or I don't know. Yeah, how do you go about that?
That's a really good question. So back then I wasn't using AI, but I would use it now if I was applying again. And I'd say just finding out if the company has any like values or leadership principles, just a set of values that they stand for, that they champion. If you know those off by heart and have them on paper, understand why they have them and see how you can sort of integrate it in your answers. So say a company has, at Amazon, we've got learn and be curious. They might ask you about a situation where you've demonstrated that value. So if you can talk about like a situation where you had to learn and be curious in that example, then that would be a great way to sort of tailor your application to the company.
That's such good advice. We always hire on values, so we will look for that in our interview. Partly look for it subtly, but then we'll also have specific questions like that. So it's it's an important thing to businesses. They want to hire someone that has their values naturally as part of them, rather than are going to have to try and force to fit in with the culture. So do you know how many applications you had to do to get the Amazon apprenticeship?
I want to say 25, I would say, between 25 and 30.
So it is a lot.
Yeah.
And because they're not short things either, are they?
No. So some of them are quicker than others. It might just be a CV and a short description as to why, and others might ask you to do like tasks and sort of different ways of assessing if you'd be a good fit for the company. So it does vary depending on the application.
And so what happened with the Amazon process? So you've submitted your application and one day you get a call, an email, and what happens next?
Yeah, so I applied, I put through my CV. The first thing we had was we had an interview in which we had to sort of sit and speak about why we wanted to do the apprenticeship. We had a group assessment. We also had to submit some written tasks about business, and of course I'm doing a business apprenticeship, so it made sense. And a couple of different stages of interviewing. And then finally we got through to, I guess, the final stage where we had a one-on-one interview. And that's where I got to speak about the leadership principles and going into why I wanted to do it. After that, it must have been about 2 weeks, 2-week wait. And it was the night before my last A-level exam. I actually went to email my careers advisor to let her know about another apprenticeship I'd actually not gotten, that I'd been rejected from. And going to open my email was when I saw the email. I thought, oh my goodness, I actually screamed. And told my parents, I was like, I've got an apprenticeship. Like, I was really happy. And yeah, from there, it was just before the last exam, like I mentioned. And then we had the year 13 summer. And by September, I was off to Manchester for the apprenticeship.
Wow. Okay. So we'll go to Manchester in a minute. So that whole process, was that like all of year 13 that you were applying for things, or was it kind of, when did you start, and how long did the Amazon one in particular take?
I started applying October time. That's when they started coming out. And the Amazon one particularly, I believe I applied January, February time. And then it must have been May that I got the acceptance email.
So it takes time. And I suppose you're juggling lots of them at that point, because you've got to keep all of your options open, haven't you? Because you don't know what's going to work. So you're juggling lots of different applications. Did you have lots of other kind of assessment centres or interviews or tasks as well for other companies?
Yeah, so the assessment centres are definitely a huge thing in apprenticeship applications and group interviews. So I had a couple of them going on. And honestly, I think at that stage of education, you don't really know how it's going until you get any feedback. So it was a lot of waiting and checking my emails and calls and being patient, essentially waiting to hear.
And I guess for someone like Ray, you might not know what an assessment centre is at the moment if you've not come across them as yet. So tell us what's that like?
Yeah, so they can be online or in person. So a lot of mine were online, pretty much all of them, I'd say. And it's sort of a mixture of ways a company will use to understand if you're a good fit for the apprenticeship, for the role. I know some roles outside of apprenticeships do have assessment centres too. So in my one, we had, of course, the written task that you sort of did independently and then submitted. We also had one-on-one interviews and we had a group interview. So the assessor was there to understand and see how we sort of interact with each other. And that's how they get an idea as to if a candidate would be a good fit for an apprenticeship or for a role. A lot of group interviews.
Yeah, I guess that must be interesting as well, because you're in an interview with people you've never met before and you all really want the job, but also you probably know we've got to show some teamwork here, collaboration, can't just try and be the loudest voice. It's did anyone prepare you for how to do well in that kind of environment, or was it just learn as you go?
Yeah, I'd say upon reflection, I wish I did more preparation for my assessment centres, the group interviews, but I didn't really have much. I didn't really understand how to navigate them until I was doing them actively. And that's where I came to see, like, okay, you're in a group environment. You all do want the same role. You all do want to show why you're a suitable fit for the role, of course. That's why we're in the interview. But sort of just really the same way you would in a group task, maybe at school, like working through it together, like teamwork. That's why it's a group interview. You can like shine as bright as a diamond in your one-on-one interview, but in the group interview, it's about reaching that end goal as a group and together. So I'd say that's sort of how I prepared for it. I do remember having one assessment centre in which, like, one of my first ones, I had absolutely no sort of idea how to navigate it, because everybody was so different and wasn't really working together as you would in the assessment centre. So that was a new dilemma for me. I didn't know how to sort of go about that, because you all do want to reach the same end goal.
Yeah, and I guess most of the time when you're at school doing group stuff, it's your friends, it's your classmates, it's people you know, isn't it? So suddenly being thrown into, we're all wanting this job. And probably there are more than one jobs, no doubt, when there's some of them for apprenticeships, they'll be taking on a team of apprentices. But still, you're in competition, but also trying to work together. It's a new situation for many people, I imagine.
Definitely.
How does it sound to you, Ray? Scary or?
Yeah, quite scary.
Oh, don't be scared. I think once you get the ball rolling in terms of apprenticeship applications, it sort of becomes bread and butter, and you know how to navigate certain questions. But I think with AI and social media and the amount of people that are out there speaking about their experiences and stories, there's so many resources at your disposal to help you get ready for when you do start applying. Yeah. So you've got this.
Yeah, definitely. And once you've done one, it must all become easier. But it's just that fear of the unknown, isn't it? It's I'm turning up to this thing that I have no idea what it is. So the more research you can do, the more conversations like this you can listen to, the more prepared you'll feel. But actually, nothing will feel better than once you've done one or two yourself. So, okay, so then they've offered you the role and you moved to Manchester. So from Kent to Manchester.
Yeah, I think this is such a big turn of events. I did really want to go to Manchester. So at that time, of course, a lot of my peers, a lot of my friends were also moving for university, as they do like after sixth form. So it sort of felt natural to relocate at that stage. It didn't feel too crazy. You know, September comes around and everyone's packing off to uni, or some people did stay, but a lot of my friends did go. And Manchester itself, I think as a city, I thought was very cool. It seemed like just after London, another like a land of opportunities and so many different big media companies and business companies that are based there as well. So that really drew me in, added to the fact that it was just a new environment. So I thought, I'd love to go to Manchester. That was.
And did you have to go to Manchester, or was there choice to pick where you wanted to be based? Because obviously Amazon are everywhere almost.
Yeah. So I did choose Manchester specifically, like intentionally. So there was options to go down in London as well, but I applied to both Manchester and London and then chose the Manchester one.
Fantastic.
So how come you chose the Manchester one?
So really it was just the environment. I wanted to be in a new environment, but also I think of all the cities they had it available in, Manchester seemed like the most exciting and different. And yeah, it was for sure. It's a great city.
And when you start at Amazon, were there lots of other apprentices starting at the same time?
Yeah, so no, I was the only apprentice in my building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that must have been quite daunting. So you've just moved to a new city and then you start your new job and it's just you. How did that feel?
It was a shock, to be honest. Initially, you do sort of think like after being in school my whole life, like you have other people around you that are in the same stage and age. So you're just sort of going through it together. But this was the first time I was sort of like, a fish climbing a tree, I suppose you could say. Like I was the only apprentice, I was the youngest, and sort of nobody in a similar situation. So having to navigate that was a lot of like, you have things like imposter syndrome or maybe like doubting yourself and questioning things like you've not experienced before because it is the first time.
Yeah. And had they had an apprentice doing this apprenticeship in Manchester before? Like, was there someone a few years ahead of you that you could chat to, or were you very much on your own?
Yeah, in that building, I was the first apprentice they had. They now have multiple, which I think is so great. But yeah, there was the first one. So I think even for them, it was a new experience, understanding how to support a young person that had just relocated and was working and studying full time. It was new for everybody involved, really.
Yeah. I can imagine. And so what happens? So you've started, how, because I know from the conversation we've had, you move around different departments. So where did you start and how did you get started? Because this is all brand new for you at this point.
Yeah, so started off in Manchester in a delivery station. And of course, where the aim was to learn about management and leadership. The first year and a half I spent like buddying up with different managers and leaders and rotating around and sort of understanding how the building works, understanding how the shift works. And I remember my manager saying to me like, when you come here, you're a leader and you don't need to worry about being the youngest or not having experience. Like you're a leader and that's what you're here to do as an apprentice. So that definitely was a very big turning point for me, I think, at the start of my apprenticeship. And then from there, rotating on, going into electric vehicle operations, which is a little bit different, very different to what I was doing previously, and then into marketing operations. Just across the board, I think working with different managers has been such an impactful part of my apprenticeship, like being able to understand I'm here to learn about management and leadership, and there's no better way to do that than being around managers and leaders, essentially. So
definitely seeing different people's styles as well and what you react well to, because that's the thing. You can read every book in the world on management and leadership, but you've got to find your own approach and find out what works. But there's no better way to learn that from seeing how other people manage you.
100%.
Was that something that you were focused on? Kind of, are there people that stand out on your journey that have been like, wow, I'm so glad that person was there at that point to help me?
Oh, 100%. Like there's so many people I could sit and name them all, but of course not. I think different managers and leaders that I worked with throughout the journey had such an impact. Like I remember when I moved from Manchester back down to London and my mentor in the building said to me like, here you came, you grew your wings, you learned how things work and now you're ready to use them and fly and soar. And we spoke about that after the conversation as well, just to understand that when I did come, it was a very different playing field. I was so nervous and like being around all grown adults who were so developed in their career and having no experience, you just feel like I'm not meant to be here. But yeah, different mentors that have supported me and spend 30 minutes chatting, spend 30 minutes providing some help or guidance into how to navigate different things. So I found that great. Being in the delivery station as well, like different staff I worked with that I buddied with that were true mentors that understood that it was a completely new experience for me and sort of helped me develop into these roles and take on more responsibility, but feel like I could do it and believe in myself, essentially. That's the power, I think, of really great mentors.
Definitely. And you did shift work when you were in the delivery centre, didn't you? How was that?
That was an experience as well. Like that was definitely very different. So previously I'd had a part-time job in a supermarket. So that was sort of similar in the sense of shift work, but I definitely hadn't worked like night shift. I hadn't done different sort of hours. So for context, I rotated around. I did 4 months on different hours of shifts. So I had nights, AMs, PMs, and then what was known as delivery ops, but each of them were different times. So yeah, I think Starting night shift was definitely a new one for me. Being 18 up north in my first full-time job and also working nights, that was something I hadn't done before. But I think because it was at the start of my program, you're of course you're very charged, you're very ready to take on anything. And it was quite exciting, I think, at the same time, because I'd not ever worked full time, and I'd also not done an apprenticeship, so I was very keen to just get started, really.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. Have you ever done shift work like that before? No, I've never done nights. That must be just a complete change of your body rhythm and pattern, isn't it?
I think it was only for 4 months, but yeah, it was a shock to the system at the start. Yeah, I had to get into it.
But also, I think we were talking about this when we spoke before. You can't be a leader of people and not put yourself in the situation to go through what they're going through. And actually, if you're managing a team where part of what they are doing is nights, you need to appreciate what's it like to do nights, to really, in my opinion, to be a good leader. So I think that's brilliant to have been through that, and that will stay with you forever, whether it's something you want to go back to doing at any point or not, but it's something that you now properly appreciate what it takes and how it disrupts your day to day. But for some people, they love it, don't they? They just get the right pattern and it works for them.
Absolutely. I did meet so many people on the nights that loved it and didn't want to move, that had been on it for years, and also people that didn't plan to be there as long term. But it is such a good point you make, in a sense of you can't come in the morning to lead the shift and be leading people that have just been working for 8 hours and not know what they're going through. So I think having that taste of what they're doing as well just helps you to be a more empathetic leader, more supportive, and also where all of our work feeds into one another. So we're each in at different times of the day. It's so important for everyone to understand what other people do when we're not in the building to make our shift run.
For all the latest marketing and brand news, follow the Drum Mag on Instagram.
And I'm guessing, being Amazon, there is a lot of automation, a lot of tech that runs through everything that happens from a digital perspective. I'm guessing that would be the case. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, absolutely. In every department, I think, across the board in Amazon, there's so much being done to improve and scale up and adapt to AI now, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, and I guess getting to see that firsthand and how it plays out must have been just brilliant to see, and still is brilliant to see, because you're now in the marketing operations area.
Yeah.
Which I think you said was your favourite so far?
Most definitely love it. Love it.
Love it, although let's not let your old colleagues hear that. But
we had a great time there too.
Yeah, no, it's good. And what does marketing operations mean?
Yeah, so it's essentially being a support function for our different streams of marketing. So we've got events marketing, we've got webinars marketing, paid media, email marketing, all these forms, and I guess developing our tools to ensure that they can do their job properly, but also lead management. Of course, marketing is mainly about gathering those leads and bringing them into the business and ensuring those are being managed correctly and then worked correctly, passed to the direct people, and making sure they're getting the right message at the right time. And that's essentially it in a nutshell.
Love that. And what skills are you using day to day? Is it leaning on your management and leadership mainly here, or is it also, what other skills are coming into play?
Yeah, so it's a mixture, I'd say. So for sure, stakeholder management, where we've got lots of different people that are either customers of our work or feed into our work. So having to work with different people and ensuring they know what they're doing, they have the right information with the right context so that they can do their job, and also ensuring that we've got the information we need to do ours. Things like using automations and sort of AI as well comes in quite a bit now, where it didn't so much before in my previous roles within my apprenticeship. But I think it's super cool to see how these platforms are able to sort of advance or speed up or optimize things we're working on. What else? There's a lot of different skills I feel like coming into play. Being creative as well. Of course, when we're targeting messages to customers, we need to think, who's receiving this, and what would they want to hear, not just a generalized message. I think being really specific and tailored in communication is something that I've definitely been able to more develop in this role.
Love that. I love that. And from an AI point of view, are you using it in your personal life as well now? Is AI drip feeding into everything?
Yeah, I think it does tend to drip feed into everything with the apprenticeship as well, and sort of doing my portfolio work. I see it coming in handy there. University, of course, it does play a huge role, I think, across the board, but I'm always looking for ways in which I can bring it in more. Yeah. Because it's a great resource and tool to use.
It is incredible, isn't it? Are you using it much at the moment, Ray?
Yeah, definitely.
What's your favourite AI tool?
Probably ChatGPT.
Yeah, is that where are you sitting at the moment?
I'd say ChatGPT and Quillbot. Yeah.
Oh, Quillbot. I've not heard of this one.
Yeah, my friend actually recommended it to me and I gave it a try, and I think where it's got different types of AI tools to use on, it's sort of like a one-stop shop for me.
Ooh.
But I also do think ChatGPT, I need to use it a bit more.
Yeah,
That's
it
what I'd
is.
say.
It is helpful. How is it at school at the moment? Are you encouraged or told not to kind of use it too much? Or
Well, to be honest, a bit of both, because in some ways they don't want us to use it for our work, but they want us to use it to help us with our work in a way. So they want us to use AI as a tool more than like do it for you. You get what I mean?
exactly, which is kind of how then once you get into the world of work, that's how you'll be using it at Amazon, I imagine. That's how it's not to do everything for me, but it's to help me and support me in doing what I need to get done.
Yeah,
It's like having that little colleague that's there to answer you at any time and to give you ideas and to tell you if it's good or not good, or help you pick holes in something you might be looking at. It's it's mad. We've not had it that long, but I can't really imagine life without it now. Like, I'm using it all the time from a work perspective.
Yeah, no, 100% in terms of as a tool as well. I think I recently had a university module in which like it was really promoted to use AI for it. And it was based on like financial analysis and sort of developing those workbooks. And we were told very much like, do use AI? Like, we want you to use it here for the numbers side of things. So it definitely is a tool to use. It's just knowing how to use it that I think we're all learning and developing in that area.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's got the full answer on that yet, have they? It's still so new. And so actually to that point then, so alongside working, you're obviously having to complete modules for the degree apprenticeship as well. How do you balance that? How much is there of that? And do you get time in work to do that, or are you doing that outside of work?
Yeah, great question. So 1 day a week we've got dedicated to our study time essentially, which you can use for whether it's university lectures, whether you've got seminars, portfolio work to do for your apprenticeship, or just anything towards your study side and ensuring you're getting that qualification. And occasionally we might have a masterclass, which is essentially our webinars sort of condensed into 1 or 2 or 3 days. And we'll also have maybe some team visits down to Exeter. That does happen every now and again, where Exeter is quite far for a lot of us. We don't go as often, but yeah, there's allocated time to ensure that you're getting your study done, which I really do appreciate. I think it's great to have that balance between the two.
Yeah. And does it end up going into a bit of personal time, or is that day enough to get it done?
I think occasionally it depends on the deadlines and sort of the landscape. I think where I volunteer, my schedule's a little bit different to typical degree apprentices, but I'm aware that choosing to volunteer means sometimes I will do things in my own time, and they're all things that I want to be doing. So yeah.
Yeah, it's okay, isn't it? I think, there's lots of jobs where it straddles into your own time, but if you enjoy what you do, then it doesn't really matter. It's kind of you're having a good time at the same time. And so then we mentioned it back at the start, but you do get a balance with your personal life then, so you're not just work the whole time.
Yeah, like I think it's so important. Like, reading all those cons in year 13 about not having a social life did horrify me, and I thought like I do want to make sure I am still making time with my friends and family and doing things I enjoy. So for sure, whether it's like trips with my friends or celebrating birthdays or just trying spontaneous things, I'm always trying to make sure that I've got that allocated time. Obviously, being an apprentice now, I think it's been more intentional to like plan things in advance, whereas maybe if I had chosen to go to university like most of my friends, I might not have to be as sort of like plan, but planning essentially makes sure that I'm still having that social time and fun time. So yeah, I think
that's good. So those were myths that aren't true.
Yeah, I think it's what you make it, really. Like the same way university is not always like crazy and fun, and you know, people speak about having the uni life or the experience, but I have a lot of friends that also didn't have the typical experience. So it's just a testament to say that yeah, it is what you make it. Every experience is what you make it.
Yeah, definitely. It does sound good. Has it made you think differently about an apprenticeship?
Yeah, I kind of want to go into an apprenticeship anyway, so...
Perfect.
Cool.
And what do you think yours would be in?
Most likely I'd want to try get into film, because that's the career path I want to take. So that's what I'd want to go into.
Do you, in the application process, do you get a chance to show off like the extracurricular stuff you've done? So, for example, someone like Ray wanting to get into film, the fact that he's been here on the podcast today, would he in most applications be able to shine a light on that kind of activity?
Oh, absolutely. So not only could you link to actual evidence of you interviewing today and hosting, which you're doing a great job, by the way, you could include that. You can also speak about what you've done when you give your example. So similar to how I mentioned earlier, you might be asked, tell me about a situation where you've had to learn and be curious. And then you might reference a situation in which you've done that, or you could speak about anything inside or outside of school. I know when I did my interview, I didn't have a lot of examples. I had my experience in working in a supermarket, and then also a lot of sort of drama production working, because I did quite a bit of that in school. And I was able to reference that. I'd speak about sort of my personal interests and where I'd been able to work on those things. So there's definitely opportunity to speak about what you're doing extracurricular wise. Shout about it even. It's great to talk about.
Love that. I think things like that stand out, don't they? Because it isn't just about the grades. It's a good question to ask. It's they're looking for more from an apprenticeship, aren't they? Because you're going to become part of their team, part of their culture. They want to know a bit more about you. So that's really good, really good. Oh, I'm excited that this is what you want to do. This was a good pairing, a good conversation today. So what else? Is there anything else that you want to know about the process or what it's been like?
Not really, no.
No. Is this giving you a good insight and a good window into... And was there anything, what's been most surprising for you, I guess, on this journey? What was there, I suppose, if you were sitting in Ray's shoes right now, there's questions that Ray doesn't know to ask because he's like, I don't know, because I've not been there. Was there anything surprising on the journey where you're like, I wish I'd known that when I was thinking about going on this route into apprenticeships?
Oh, that's a great question. So I'd say straight off the bat, I kind of touched on it earlier, but also understanding that non-degree level apprenticeships are just as valuable and just as able to provide you a path into the career you want to be in. When I went to like a careers fair the other day, and speaking with students, it was great to understand that a lot of them are open to both. Whereas I know when I was in school, it was very much like degrees. And that's why when it came to apprenticeships, I still thought it has to be a degree apprenticeship. And I look back and think, you should have been open to all of them, Naomi. Like, there was so many options, and knowing people now in my working world who did level 3s, 4s and 5s and are now managers in industries they really love is not only amazing to see, but lets you know that all apprenticeships are super valuable. So I wish I knew that. And what else? I would say relocating for an apprenticeship, that was, I think, a shock for me. Yeah, like, it was great, and I did have a lot of new experiences as a result of doing it, but I definitely underestimated and didn't understand that it isn't the same as relocating for uni. It's a completely different experience. So those two things I wish I could have known back then.
It's a good point, because also I suppose when you go to uni, you get a student loan, which helps give you some of that money. And obviously in apprenticeship, you're getting paid, but you haven't had a bulk amount of money like a loan to help kind of set you up. So suddenly you're off on your own to Manchester and you're on just your apprenticeship salary to be able to make sure you've got somewhere to live, to feed yourself, etc. So were you in a house share type setup, or what did you look for there?
Yeah, so I lived with other students actually who were like mature students, so it wasn't the same as being in halls with like first years, but it was also that new experience of, okay, like I am like living independently, but not in the way that I think you do when you move for university and you sort of have an instant community. It's kind of having to go and build that community was probably a bit of a shock to the system. Like, I need to be very intentional, unlike if I had like an instant group of cohort, or sorry, I've worded that wrong. Unlike if I moved and had a cohort with me straight away, like I didn't have that experience, so that was different.
And what's the culture at Amazon like? There, were you straight into being able to go to kind of team activities and things outside of work and make your friends there, or was it more you needed to find friends in your own circles outside of work, or a bit of both?
I would say a bit of both, I think what was great is that Amazon has so many different affinity groups that you can join based off of interest. And on top of that, like, we'd have a lot of engagement activities and things to sort of get people like talking and excited and together essentially. So there's a lot of those sort of structures in place, which I think is really great. And in addition to that, also where an influx of students move to cities like Manchester every September, it was a great environment, I suppose, to meet people and sort of build my own community. And also just everybody being in the same boat, everyone's in a new place with not many people they know. That was it was a big help to have that at the same time.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. I've never done the just move away. I didn't go to uni but I can just imagine, because you're still so young at that point, aren't you? And you've just like flown the nest, all independent. I've got this, but actually then it's quite scary and lots of new challenges. But what a great way to kind of build around you and to build your skills. I love that. Love it.
Thank you.
And then so you're in the final part of the apprenticeship. You're kind of deciding what to do next. You've got, is it like a degree where you've got a big final thing that you have to submit at the end of it?
Yeah, so we have what's known as an EPA. So EPA stands for Endpoint Assessment, and that happens at the end of every apprenticeship, regardless of the level. Where the university ties in, our EPA is part of our final, I suppose what you would see as a dissertation, which is like a huge essay you write when you graduate, essentially. We would have to do sort of an endpoint project to demonstrate everything we've learned, to tie in all of our portfolio work, and to really just close off the apprenticeship. So that's what we've got coming up.
Yeah, and that would be fun, and that would be a nice way to feel, I guess it's your kind of closing point as well, to go, look what I've achieved and what I've done. And obviously you said one of your surprising things was the fact that you didn't necessarily have to have done the degree apprenticeship. If someone does do a lower level, can they then keep going and go, right, well, now I'm going to do level 4 and level 5 and build on it? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so that absolutely is an option. I know a lot of individuals who chose to do maybe a 3 or 4 and have now progressed on to a 4 or 5 or 6. You can move up within the industry. The only limitation in terms of doing an apprenticeship is if you've done it in the field already, you can't do one at the same level. But of course, you wouldn't need to because you already have the qualification in the level you want. So
that makes sense. Yeah. And through your ambassador work, what does that look like? Are there events that people can go to? Is there content online? Like for anyone listening to this, and for Ray when he goes home, well, you might be knackered today, but tomorrow, if he wants to go and have a look, what can they find and how might it help them?
Yep. So for the Ambassador Network, we've got a range of social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of these platforms in which we showcase what goes on in the network and sort of behind the scenes. We've got our great coordinators who are so enthusiastic and make amazing content to sort of promote what we're doing. And day to day, no day is the same in the network. We have different sort of formats with engaging with our ambassadors. So as co-chairs, we do always want to make sure that we're engaged with our ambassadors, we're giving them updates on what's going on, how we're improving the network, what we're doing, also giving them the opportunity to go to events. So events might look like going to a school and speaking in a careers fair. It might look like hosting a workshop, doing a one-on-one, mentoring students. It can be so many different ways of just really promoting apprenticeships and feeding back into communities to make sure they have that information. Recently, we had an event at the Tottenham Stadium, so it was really cool. It was the UK University and Apprenticeship Search Fair with years 11 to year 13 to teach them all about apprenticeships and really just let them know what we've got to offer. And at the event, there was other stands, there was universities, there was colleges, all there to really sell what they've got to offer. So yeah, I think in the network, we are always trying to make sure that all of our ambassadors are equipped to go into these places. We're aware that speaking to students can be scary. Like it can be new if it's not something you've done. So supporting them as well, one-on-one.
Just a quick note from me. We'd love you to hit the subscribe button. This helps us more than you might realise when it comes to growing this podcast, ensuring we can bring you the best guests possible. Thank you. Back to the episode.
And so when you're at an event like the Tottenham Stadium one, that you're there as an ambassador, you're not there as Amazon, although you can lean into telling them a bit about your experience at Amazon, but you're there to just kind of be an ambassador for apprenticeships in general.
Yeah, that's the best way of putting it. So to share the apprenticeship side, but if it is relevant, then of course speak about specifically to Amazon and what I've done there as well to sort of give them that information. And a lot of students are interested in Amazon. So yeah, I think the other day I had about 10 conversations because they're already on it. They're already applying and looking.
Love that. Well, also, I just think Amazon's quite interesting, isn't it? Like I'm sitting here on a load of questions around like, how does Amazon work? How do I order something at 11 o'clock at night and it's at my house by 10 a.m. the next day? But I mean, that must be a lot of the logistics that happen in the delivery centres where you've worked. And yeah, what's the most surprising thing that you found about Amazon working there from having been, no doubt, a customer beforehand?
Oh, that's a great question. What is the most surprising thing? I'd say the amount of effort that goes into making sure that parcel is at your door when it's been promised for is like a lot goes in the previous steps in the build up to get that parcel to your door. There's so many different buildings involved, different people involved, and yeah, to get it there, there's an intense amount of planning and effort and just perfect scheduling to get it there.
Yeah.
And seeing that, and then ordering as a customer still to this day. It comes to the door and I'm like, I know where you've been.
Yeah,
like, I know how you got here.
I see you.
Yeah.
Well, because the thing is, it could be that you've just ordered something that's like £5, and yet no doubt it's probably been through the hands of tons of different people, different buildings, and yet, yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. Amazon blows my mind. It's such a huge operation and just incredible. And when you sit there and order in the evening and the next morning it's at your door, it's like, wow, I love it. I wouldn't be without. I don't know what we'd do without Amazon.
No, it's what would we do without AI and Amazon? Like, where would we be?
And Google, and like, there's lots of things that you just can't imagine life without now.
Yeah.
But it is going to keep spilling into everything, isn't it? It's exciting, and I think especially in the film industry as well, we're going to see more AI.
Yeah.
Although, and actually, like the way the video side of AI has moved on so quickly in the last year or two, we've stopped having like 6 or 7 fingers, haven't we? Which was what was happening to begin with. But no, I love it. So, is there anything we've not asked you that you're like, oh, I need to tell you this, or students need to be aware of this? Is there anything on your mind?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I think when students start an apprenticeship, and it can be new, it can be scary and sort of like a bit shaky, it's giving it the chance to get better. So I understand 100%. There's a lot of people who don't finish their apprenticeship and might leave, and different people have different experiences. So it makes sense as to why, but also understanding that often as things progress that are really new and scary, like starting an apprenticeship can be, if you give it time, it can get better and it can become very enjoyable. Things like rotating or different environments, joining communities, definitely change the experience as well. So one, never underestimate the power of community, especially as an apprentice. There's so many networks out there that are like doing the world of good at connecting apprentices together. And then I'd also say sometimes being comfortable with being uncomfortable for a little bit is what produces the best results. So yeah.
That is really good advice, really good advice. And we've heard that before from some other people. We had a chap that was at Coca-Cola doing, I think it was a year placement rather than an apprenticeship, but doing a job that wasn't that interesting and could have easily felt a bit downbeaten, but actually was like, I'm at Coca-Cola, I'm going to make the most of this. And I'm at Amazon, I'm going to make the most of this. What can I learn? How can I make connections, network with people, etc.? And then it turns out to be one of the best things you've ever done. I mean, he's still 15, 20 years later works at Coca-Cola, I think, from his story. So yeah, it's work isn't always fun. Like I'm a big advocate for having fun at work, but when you're first learning and you're in something completely new, it can't be brilliant fun all day, every day, because you're learning and you've got to get to a certain level before you can unlock some of the more interesting stuff. So just sticking with it and being prepared that it isn't going to be brilliant every single day, but that doesn't mean it's not good for you and it's not creating something that's going to be brilliant in the future. So
I'm sure it's quite scary.
Yes. Yeah. And the unknown, isn't it? And because that's the thing, that's what causes fear more than anything, is the unknown. It's like what am I doing here? And where's this actually going to lead to? But in a company as big as Amazon, you've got so much opportunity, haven't you? If you can just be good at what you're doing, make a name for yourself, make connections, you're going to have a springboard to meet other people. But also then to have that on your CV, even if at the end of the apprenticeship you go, do you know, I'm done with Amazon, I'm going to do something else. What a brilliant foundation to have had. So, who knows what's coming next?
Who knows? Honestly, I think I just try and say to every apprentice, like, make the most of wherever you are now, whether that's like opportunities or volunteering, and then it will help you guide to where you're meant to be next, essentially.
Yeah. And everything does happen for a reason. And again, I think we've had this conversation many times on this podcast. Sometimes you'll think something really rubbish has happened, like it might be at the end of the apprenticeship, that there isn't an opportunity to stay on and that's what you wanted. But actually, then you'll find out like 3 months later, 6 months later, that it was the best thing that ever happened, that it didn't end up being that. Or you'll stay and you weren't sure you wanted to, and then that will be the best thing. Like, you just don't know everything. You've just got to go with the journey, haven't you? And try and put your best foot forward at all times, but just go with the journey and enjoy it. So any other questions?
Yeah, anything.
What is the hardest part about your job?
Oh, that's a very good question. Currently, or as through the whole apprenticeship, would you say? Is that
just the whole thing? Yeah,
the whole thing? I would say, I think just adjusting to a new environment and
Yeah.
understanding like, okay, I was in sixth form previously. That was great, but I am in a new environment now. I'm in a new world, and just understanding how things work, you know, different cultures and work cultures and fitting into them, and also sometimes not having people that are at the same stage as you in the same environment, but understanding that's okay. Like, you're there to learn, you're there to be new. It's okay to be a beginner. I think it can be hard to be a beginner at the start, but getting comfortable with being new and understanding like everybody in the room with you was once upon a time new, so it's just your time to be new.
Yeah.
and then learn. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah, none of us like being a beginner, do we? But actually, like in our business, when we've got new, fresh eyes in, it's one of my favourite things, because you just look at things differently as a beginner. Like, it's actually, you've got such an opportunity when you're fresh to something to have ideas and see things differently, that people that have been there longer and that you've been there longer, you've lost that ability, because you're like, oh, I see it how we do it because I know it. But actually, when you're fresh into it, it's like, I don't know, why do you do it like this? And so being curious and being able to ask questions is such a powerful skill when you're fresh and new. And hopefully if you're in a good environment, they'll soak that up and they'll be like, this is brilliant. You're bringing all the fresh ideas, because just because a company does it a certain way doesn't mean it's the right way.
Definitely. That's a quote right there. Like, I think so many people say that the value of having an apprentice is many, but a key thing is that they come in with fresh eyes. Like, there's so much value to being in the room as an apprentice. And yeah, it's just knowing that your ideas count just as much as everybody else's in the room, and share them, speak up. Yeah,
you're not there to make the tea and do the filing. Like, we don't have much filing anymore these days, and people can make their own tea, and we can all make tea for each other, but you're there to learn and to do something exciting and to get a lot out of it. And I imagine the more you put in, the more you get out, because you can create more opportunity. Like, if you're the one pushing, going, well, just why is that like that, and tell me more about that, and can I find out more here, that's just going to help you.
Definitely. I'd say for you guys, do you guys have anything you've learned about apprenticeships that are really surprising, or things you didn't expect?
Anything from you, Ray? I feel like the process was interesting. Like, because I suppose, I've never applied to be an apprentice, and actually, similar to you, I did went through a sales recruitment company when I'd just left school, and they, it was meant more for grads, but I don't know. Again, I'm one of those people that I just ask questions, and I applied saying, look, I've not done a degree, but I really want to get into sales. Would you let me come along? And they did these assessment centres. And at that point, I had no idea what assessment centre was, but I saw it's what you were meant to do. So I was like, can I come along? And they'd let me come along, and then they took me on and said, well, we'll try and find you a role. But they did it that they would invite lots of people that wanted to get into sales. There was like 20, 25 of us. And then they'd get it down by the end of the day. They'd maybe take 4 or 5 people on that then they're trying to get you a job. So nothing's guaranteed at that point, but then they're trying to get you a job. So I think there's still recruiters out there that do that kind of thing as well. But to me, before I did that, I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. But actually, I think it's used quite a lot, assessment centres, especially for big businesses. And it's a really good way. And if you can go in feeling confident, it's a great opportunity to shine. But I think, it's a bit of a daunting experience.
It's quite shocking how many applications you have to make and how many you get accepted to.
No, absolutely. I get you. I think they are so competitive, and I see so many like TikTok content nowadays with people like explaining how they found it or how they got into it, and understanding that there's so much conversation about prep for assessment centres now, because back like 5 years ago they were a little bit different, and they're advancing and improving now. It's like, there's sometimes a lot, but don't let that put you off. I know maybe I had to go through so many, but it might not be the same for you. And I think, again, in TV and production, like the industry you want to go into, like it's such a cool industry, one, but two,
it's very competitive,
but the sort of like opportunities that come out of being in that industry are amazing. And also I think maybe like even volunteering in the lead up to starting, those sort of things can be a great opportunity to like get your foot in the door, get your name heard, and also you can speak about them in your applications too.
Actually, that's a good point. We've got the Maidstone Studios where they film some really cool stuff that's based locally to where you're based, which you should look at, seeing how can I get in there, and even if you could come and do some, as you say, volunteering. It's things like that that make applications stand out. Because if your application's the same as everyone else's, that, oh, I go to school and this is what I'm studying and here's my predicted grades or my actual grades, but it's all just similar to what everyone else can say, it's really hard to stand out. It's like, oh, Ray looks nice, but so does this person and this person. Whereas if you can go, well, I put myself out there and I did this and I did that, and suddenly it's like, oh, there's something special about Ray. So yeah, I think trying to find those opportunities. Yeah. And yeah, having been here today and actually you can pick Chris behind the camera, you can pick his mind later on some of the filming side of it. Yeah. What exactly in the industry would you want to get into?
I'm quite keen on like the editing side. I find that quite fascinating, but I'm quite open-minded really. So
fantastic.
Just want to see where I fit in.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm sure Chris can share some with you today about all the editing that goes into, well, actually, there'll be no editing. We've been seamless and perfect. But still, there's 3 cameras running. There's a whole setup happening. And I'm sure there might be some noises he needs to get right and whatnot. And yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So it's just that curiosity to ask, isn't it? Would you say, has network been important for you, like building network of connections? And I guess through what you're doing as an ambassador, you've been building a network there. How important is that, do you think, in the start of your career?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to do. Typically, I didn't actually attend like networking events to begin with in my apprenticeship. Like it wasn't something I thought, I need to go to these. But it sort of happened more by coincidence, sort of by volunteering in things that I was interested in. I ended up being around people who were also interested in apprenticeships and promoting them, and that sort of helped build a network. But I think now, particularly where I've rotated and sort of changed industries in the sense of what I'm working in, it most definitely has helped to have people that I've sort of met at different stages of the journey who may be experts at some topics or have worked here or have connections or experience in certain departments that I'm also interested in or might need to work in. I know that it always does come in handy, even with the Ambassador Network. There might be, someone might come through and say, oh, I want to do an apprenticeship in maybe construction, and that person's got the experience, and because of that network I know, like, okay, I know people from here that can help you with that, and being able to connect people up that can sort of help each other, it most definitely helps. And then also with community and having these different events, it's nice to go and see familiar faces. I know when I first started going to different sorts of events, like everybody was new, but now it's sort of at the stage where like I'll see quite a few people that are familiar, and it just helps you in settling in and having people you know in the industries that you also are either in or might have involvement in working in.
Yeah, love that. I believe building that network is so powerful. And actually that's how you're here. So I found you on LinkedIn because you've been posting about the things that you do around the Ambassador Network. So it's just, it's a way of getting noticed, isn't it? Finding connections and a springboard for new opportunities. So I love it. Really good. Any final questions? No, good, feel like you're ready to go in because you're year 12, so next year you're going to go and start. But you could start looking now, I guess, as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think actually on that, the BBC is actually about to drop their apprenticeship application. So even if you don't apply this year, of course, because it's early, you can attempt to apply and have a look at what they're asking for and look at the descriptions and maybe just note it down so you know what you're looking for. They've got a lot.
That's such a good idea. That's a really good idea. Love that. Thank you so much. This has been brilliant. I've loved hearing about your journey, and I think we both learned a lot. And maybe I'll go and start an apprenticeship. You're never too old. You're never. There's time to always keep learning. Every day's a school day, isn't it? But thank you so much for sharing. It's been really, really wonderful, Naomi. Loved having you on. And Ray, thank you so much for being a wonderful co-host.
Thank you for having me.
No worries at all.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for being a brilliant host. I really enjoyed this conversation. Great questions as well.
Fantastic. Lovely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on another episode of Behind the Future. That concludes another brilliant episode of Behind the Future. Thank you so much for listening. You can listen back to other episodes on YouTube or your podcast platform of choice. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, as that will help us to grow this podcast, ensuring we can get the best guests on here for you to learn from. You can also follow us on socials, linked in the show notes for exclusive content. See you on the next episode.